All right. Good morning, everyone. I apologize for that short delay. When you set these streams up, you assume you're going to go right at the time you set, and then you got to have your breakfast, you got to have your coffee, you got to make sure all your slides and pictures are queued up, the intro's queued up, and things have a way of drifting backwards. But here we are. So I want to discuss two topics that I became aware of during the week. And I think, yeah, we're going to be in the realm of human health and medical science today. For my tech people, I promise we're going to get back to the coding and the open source and all those things. We're going to get back there soon. Machine learning, artificial intelligence, quantum computing. We're going to get back there. But today we're going to hang out in the human health medical space. So I'm going to make an announcement over on my original channel in case anyone wants to come over and listen. And then I'll play the intro and we'll jump in. I have a hard stop probably around 11:30 because I have another meeting at noon. But let's see what happens. So let me make this announcement. Bear with me for a few minutes. And we'll see who wants to join us over there on my original Big Discussions 76 channel. I hope everyone's enjoying their Saturday thus far. I think here in the DMV, we're already up to the 80s and the 90s. This is not my, I'm not a fan of humidity and heat. So in this region, the spring and the fall are my favorite times because you get to wear coats and scarves and you get to accessorize. But the summer months, it gets scorching. Anyway, I digress. Let's see. All right, that's been shared. So I am going to play the intro and I will see you all on the other side of the intro. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar, and this is Big Discussions 76, Science and Technology. First of all, please like the stream, please share it, and please subscribe. I'm approaching 1,200 subs over here. Every sub, every like, every share certainly helps. And I was just thinking, I think it's important for me to reiterate this every time I go live or create a pre-recorded upload. The reasons I started this channel, one was for visibility. As Black scientists, there just aren't enough of us, and we're not visible. We're not in the mainstream media. We're not in pop culture, but we do exist, and there just aren't enough images of us. So every share helps. Yeah. So if younger people don't see us, they can't imagine being one of us. So imaging matters, messaging matters, and I think just an overall knowledge of the sciences. At least in my community, we're kind of behind in that area. So just knowing about these things, whether it's health or where technology is going, it has a broad impact, whether that's for future employment, whether that's for knowing what healthcare related questions to ask, whether that's for if you have investable dollars. The argument could be made that not a lot of people have investable dollars today, but it's just important to know what's happening in the world in the areas of science and technology. So that's why we're here. Again, please hit that like. I see some folks are in here. The numbers are going up and down a little bit. You can shout yourself out in the chat. Let me know who's watching. I think something about this. I posted something in my community tab about today's topics, and I think Shonda at least will be coming through. A few housekeeping items. I don't have a super chat over here. I don't know when I will. I don't know. There's still an existing strike, even though it's been over a year. There's still an existing strike on the channel, though it's showing in my backstage, but it's not showing in other areas. So I don't know what's going on. I had a discussion with Sheed over on my original channel 2 nights ago, and he said that I'm shadow banned. I don't know what's going on with YouTube right now, but the point is I don't have a super chat over here yet. I need to get the watch hours up, but if you want to make a donation to this stream and to the channel, my Cash App and PayPal are right there. Before I jump in, one last thing, please consider joining the Big Words LLC Newsletter. I know some of you might be tired of seeing this, but I want to thank everyone who has signed up thus far. In addition to being a YouTube content creator, I am also a writer. So some folks were gracious enough to join and curious enough to join. And speaking of curiosity, that's a major part of science, whether or not you're in regulatory like me, whether or not you're in the clinic, in the hospital, whether you're working at Tesla or SpaceX. Curiosity is a major component of science. So there's a greeting there, and there's a subscription button at the bottom. I will not give your information away to a third party, but this is just a way to track my content for those interested, as I am both a YouTube content creator and a writer for my 5 to 9. Me and she talked about that on Thursday as well. You have your 9 to 5, then you have your 5 to 9. Okay, so today's topics. The first one is going to involve yet another contagion. And I woke up I just started seeing news of this week over on Twitter. Oh, by the way, if you're on social media, please follow me. I probably don't advertise this enough, but these are other places you could follow me. There's a Big Words blog site Facebook page. I know a lot of folks aren't on Facebook anymore for reasons. Well, there are reasons for that, but my Twitter handle is right there at Big Words Are Powerful. That Twitter, my Twitter following at that handle is steadily growing. There are people subscribing to me every day. I don't know who they are, but if you're on Twitter, please consider giving me a follow. And as a matter of fact, I have Twitter open right now, so I will drop my Twitter in the chat right now, and I'll drop the link to my newsletter. You guys want to shout yourselves out, say who is out there watching? You can do that. That's my Twitter handle, and the link to my newsletter is here. It's a quick sign up. And then I'm a little irregular on Instagram, but my Instagram handle is at NYUSEF76. So anyway, so today's two topics, I was scrolling through Twitter, being careful about what I talk about on Twitter because people are watching. I know people are watching my social media. And you have to be careful about what you comment on and whose mentions you get into. And we're in a very polarized era right now. But there's also a science that shows up in my Twitter feed, at least. And I saw two interesting things. One thing involved yet another contagion. I'm using that word for a reason as a synonym for something else. And as I was tossing and turning this morning, I was thinking about the YouTube algorithm and what it's looking out for. You guys know that this channel got taken down once, and I think 2 videos got taken down, and YouTube even poached out another video from about 2 years ago. So you have to be careful about what you're talking about here. And when it comes to the sciences, again, this is not anything gender related. It's not anything political. No laptop scandals. No email server scandals. Nothing. We're just talking science. But YouTube is closely regulating what scientific topics get discussed, because if you go against community guidelines or the WHO guidelines, they'll come and they'll poach out what you're saying from experience. So there's a new contagion. It is a variation of chickenpox, except it's named for a primate. So as I read this article, I might say the name once, but I'm going to talk around what the name is because of what I just described. Let me see who's here in the chat. Go Professor. Hey, what's going on, Go Professor? Thank you for stopping through and checking out what I'm talking about. So I'm going to queue up this first article. And again, it's another pox, but it's not the chicken pox. It's a new one. It begins with an M, and it's for a primate. I'm going to read the title, and then I'll probably dance around the name as I read the article. But this article is entitled U.S. monkeypox case reported as Spain, Portugal report infections in growing outbreak. Okay, so I'm going to be very careful about saying certain words as I read this. And that image there, that's the image. I think that's well, let's see what it says. It says, this highly magnified electron micrographic image shows a mulberry type monkeypox virus particle. Okay, so that's the thumbnail for this stream. Okay, so this article reads as follows. You guys, please feel free to comment, ask questions, and let me know what you think in the chat. And the second half of this is going to be a discussion about the heart and a new technology to help individuals who are suffering from heart disease. All right, so here we go. The United States confirmed a case of mpox. I'm going to call it mpox. The United States confirmed a case of mpox infection on Wednesday in a man who recently traveled to Canada. It is not yet clear if the man, who lives in Massachusetts and who traveled to Canada by car, is connected to the growing outbreak of mpox cases in Europe. The case was announced in a statement posted to the website of the Massachusetts Department of Public Health. Confirmatory testing was done by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, which had warned earlier Wednesday that cases in this country were likely to begin to be detected. Now, let me see if I'm still live over on YouTube after I just read that little bit. Okay, I still see myself talking. All right, it looks like we're still live. All right. Given that we have now confirmed, given that we have seen now confirmed cases out of Portugal, suspected cases out of Spain, we're seeing this expansion of confirmed and suspect cases globally. We have a sense that no one has their arms around this to know how large and expansive it might be. And given how much travel there is between the United States and Europe, I'm very confident we're going to see cases in the United States, said Jennifer McQuiston, Deputy Director of the CDC's Division of High Consequence Pathogens and Pathology. So everyone, yeah, so right now we're in the space of microbiology, virology, and immunology. So in the biomedical sciences, there's a discipline for pretty much everything. Go Professor says, yes, sir. We hear. Go Professor. All right. Thank you, Go Professor. You just never know with this YouTube algorithm. And to the YouTube algorithm, this is for educational purposes only. This is not rendering advice of any kind. This is not rendering healthcare guidance. This is just for educational and teaching purposes only, for all of our collective edifications. All right. Let's see. McQuiston said in an email Wednesday that it has not yet been determined if the Massachusetts case was a part of the growing European spread. The development adds the United States and possibly Canada to a growing list of countries reporting mpox cases in an outbreak first spotted in the UK. The Public Health Agency of Canada said in a statement late Wednesday that no cases have been reported at this time. Maria van Kerkhove, I think I pronounced that correctly, who leads the Emerging Diseases and Zoonosis unit. I've never seen that word before. Zoonosis unit in the World Health Organization's Health Emergencies Program said Spain now has confirmed some cases and other countries will join the list. We have had positive cases identified in the UK, Portugal, and Spain, and we expect there will be others, Van Kerkhove told Stat on Wednesday. By the way, this publication is called Stat. It appears to be a scientific publication. Kenshawn, thank you for stopping through. Welcome. We're talking about mpox, which I'm truncating the word because I don't know how sensitive this is right now. Earlier in the day, Spain announced it was investigating 8 suspected cases, and Portugal said it was investigating more than 20, 5 of which have already been confirmed. It is not currently clear if the outbreaks are linked to one another or to the one in the UK, where 9 confirmed and 1 probable case have been reported. If they are not connected, it is not yet known if the contagion, I'm substituting that for the V word. It is not yet known if the contagion spread from the UK to Europe or the reverse, nor is it known how long the contagion has been spreading in these countries. Clearly, it's been going on for weeks, said Van Kerkhove. Most of the cases have been detected in men, okay, I better not say these words, who are alternative. I'll say alternative. You guys can see the words there on the screen. I'm not gonna say those words. Please hit the like if you're just coming in. Or are men who have had relations with other men, she confirmed, but cautioned against over focusing on that fact. We're finding where we're looking, Van Kerkhove said, nothing that countries have been noting that countries have been contacting sexual health clinics asking about patients with unusual rashes. It is important that other healthcare providers in other settings, general practitioners, dermatologists, and others are aware of the possibility that they might see mpox cases so that if the contagion is spreading more rapidly, they take adequate precautions and those cases aren't missed. The details that have come to light so far raise the prospect of an outbreak that is even more geographically widespread, said Michael Osterholm, director of the University of Minnesota Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy. There could be a dynamic transmission here that we just haven't appreciated because of the potential number of contacts, he said. Adding it will be important to collect information about how much intimate contact patients have had and where those contacts may have come from. Tom Inglesby, director for the Center for Health Security at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, said a number of countries outside Central and West Africa where mpox is more common have experienced coping with introductions of the contagion. So there is a possibility that the outbreaks will be relatively small. I think that's still probable given the past, Inglesby told Stat, but on the other hand, this is starting off with much more of a foothold in a much more distributed way, and we don't understand how it got into those networks. Okay. I'm going to take a sip of coffee here and see what you guys are talking about in the chat. Gold Professor says, put up fair use and for educational purposes only. Perhaps this will better suit your case if they get you again for some reason again. Yeah. So fair use. This is for educational purposes only. Thank you, Gold Professor. And if you're coming in, please hit the like button. I see people, folks have come in, folks have jumped in, folks have jumped out, like double Dutch. But if you jump in, please hit the like button. Yeah, help me get into double-digit likes for this. Any engagement is good. Okay, this could have the potential to move around and is going to require pretty strong public education efforts in affected communities and maybe even more broadly so that people recognize the possibility of mpox spread, he said. The UK Health Security Agency announced Wednesday that it had detected 2 additional cases, bringing to 9 the number reported there this month. Prior to this outbreak, the UK had only ever detected 7 mpox cases. The 2 latest cases had not traveled to countries where mpox virus is endemic, and have no known links to any of the prior cases. So it is possible that they acquired the infection through community transmission, the agency said in a statement, adding that the recent cases have been predominantly among men who identify as alternative. The rapid accumulation of cases is ringing alarm bells. On Tuesday, the CDC signaled it was worried about the state of the outbreak in the UK and the potential that cases would be found in other countries. So once again, fair use. This is for educational purposes only to the YouTube algorithm and to the people running the platform. We do have a level of concern that is very, very different than what we think of from Mpox. McQuiston said, we don't understand how many other cases could be out there in the UK, for example, with the undefined chains of transmission. We have a sense that there might be some unusual methods of transmission through intimate contact or some form of close personal contact that we've not previously associated with Mpox. The WHO, which previously designated Mpox as a priority pathogen, has organized a meeting of experts on Mpox and orthopox viruses, the wider family of pox viruses, for early next week. Among the issues experts will likely tackle is an apparent change in the epidemiology of the disease in countries where the contagion is endemic that has occurred in recent years. We're seeing a shift in the age of distribution of cases. We're seeing a shift in the geographic distribution of cases, said Michael Ryan, executive director of the WHO's Health Emergencies Program. We have to really understand the deep ecology. We have to really understand human behavior in those regions, and we have to try to prevent the disease from reaching humans in the first place. The Mpox virus is related to the variola virus, which caused smallpox, a once dreaded disease that was declared eradicated in 1980. The symptoms of Mpox are similar but milder than smallpox. Infected people develop flu-like symptoms, fever, body aches, chills, but also swollen lymph nodes. With 1 to 3 days of the onset of fever, a distinctive rash appears after starting on the face. Many conditions can cause rashes, but the Mpox rash has some unusual features, most notably the fact that vesicles can form on the palms of the hands. So I hope you guys took note of that in case those are the symptoms right there. Okay, so let's finish this one. In countries where it is endemic, the contagion is believed to mainly spread to people from infected animals when people kill or prepare bushmeat for consumption. Once the contagion jumps to people, human-to-human transmission can occur via respiratory droplets. Sound familiar? Respiratory droplets? Virus-laced saliva that can infect the mucosal membranes of the eyes, nose, and throat, or by contact with Mpox lesions or bodily fluids, with the virus entering through small cuts in the skin. It can also be transmitted by contact with clothing or linens contaminated with material from Mpox lesions. Does any of this sound familiar in terms of transmission? Cases outside of Africa have been rare, though there was a large outbreak in the United States in 2003 that involved 47 confirmed and probable cases in 6 states. That outbreak, the first reported from outside Africa, was traced back to the importation of small mammals from Ghana. However, in the past few years, there's been small increases in exported Mpox cases. The U.S. detected 2 in 2021, both in travelers who returned from Nigeria. The U.K. has seen multiple importations in the past few years, and Israel and Singapore have also detected cases. McQuiston said the number of exported cases from Nigeria in particular appear to be at odds with the reported number of cases in the country itself. I think we are concerned about the number of exported cases in travelers we've seen, and have so many of them in the past few years is simply a flag to us that there's a lot more Mpox transmission happening in Nigeria than perhaps the official numbers would suggest. So those of you who have traveled overseas, you know that particularly to countries like Africa. Unfortunately, I have not. You know that one of the things you have to do for your own good is make sure you're properly immunized, because there are diseases floating around and viruses and bacteria floating around in those other countries that we don't necessarily have here, for a myriad of reasons. Yeah, Go Professor. That's one. I was thinking of another recent one in terms of aerosolized droplets. And I think it is. I think it also is a flag to us that the more traditional routes of transmission that we think of, such as hunting wild animals, contact with bushmeat, living at the interface between the jungle and small communities, does not seem to be a driver of transmission in terms of what we see happening. And so that makes us cast a wider net about what risk factors might be. There is a immunization that was licensed in the United States um, in 2019 for people 18 years of age and older to protect against smallpox and the mpox Bavarian Nordics Jynneos. A second immunization, ACAM 2000, made by Emergent Product Development, protects against smallpox and is thought to offer some protection against mpox. Both vaccines are licensed only for people considered at high risk of contracting the disease. In the 2003 outbreak in the United States, the smallpox vaccine was used. Okay, we're right at the end here. The United States holds supplies of the immunizations in the Strategic National Stockpile, a hedge against public health emergencies. I never knew that. To combat a smallpox emergency, the SNS holds enough smallpox vaccine to immunize the entire U.S. population. In addition to the SNS has antiviral drugs that can be deployed to treat smallpox infections if needed. A person for the Department of Health and Human Services said by email, the WHO's Kirkov noted that some of the products have been licensed using what is known as the animal rule, where animal efficacy data are used as a surrogate because the lack of circulating smallpox means the immunizations or drugs can't be tested for efficacy in people. As a result, any such product could only be used in the context of a clinical trial, she said. There are options. We just have to make sure they're used appropriately. One of the things related to immunizations is we want to make sure if the immunizations are needed and used, they're used among populations that need them the most. There's not ample supply of anything right now, she said. Still, she expressed confidence the outbreak can be controlled. What we need to do right now is focus on stopping the spread, and what can do that. We can do that with the appropriate messaging, with the appropriate testing, with supportive isolation and clinical care as necessary, with protecting health workers, Van Kerkhove said. All right. So this says correction. An earlier version of this article mistakenly said there was no immunization licensed against to protect against mpox. All right, that's that one. So that's something that showed up on my Twitter feed, and that's something the health community is talking about now. I'll give me 1 second. All right. All right, everyone, I'm back. And it looks like we're still live because Really Chris has showed up. I'm going to turn off, I'm going to close out Facebook because people all of a sudden want to message. I hope you all are having a good Saturday thus far, wherever you are. All right, so that takes care of one little piggy. There should be no more messages coming through as I'm doing this. Go Professor, thank you for following me on Twitter. All right, so we're still live. Okay, so everyone, the last part, the second article is going to involve the heart. So we're going to talk about the heart and a new technology for individuals who are suffering from heart disease and who are in need of a transplant. So this is a technology that I am unfamiliar with. And this one, again, it came up on my Twitter feed and I said, oh, that looks interesting. And I read about it and I thought it was worth covering. So before I read this, I'm going to just give a little discussion on the heart for those of you unfamiliar with it. I mean, we all have them, but I think for proper context, I should give a little discussion of what this organ does and why it's important. Okay, so those of you who are familiar with my content, you've seen this picture uh, several times. That's the heart and the lungs, and the two work very closely together. The lungs are responsible for gas exchange. I was going to cue that picture up, but let me cue it up so you can see it. So the lungs, for multicellular organisms like us, the lungs uh, facilitate gas exchange. So the cells in our body create carbon dioxide, and they need oxygen. So the lungs are where that transfer and that exchange with the environment take place. And the hemoglobin, our red blood cells, the hemoglobin in our red blood cells circulate throughout our body to carry oxygen to our systems, and then to bring that carbon dioxide back to the lungs so we can exhale it in the environment. And there are other things that are transported in the blood. But the point is that these two work together. And of videos or live streams ago, I talked about the kidneys. Well, kidney function. You know that the kidneys. If you haven't seen those, go back and take a look. But as you know, the kidneys are their role is to filter out and clean our blood. I think the liver does some of that too, but it's more of a detoxification type of thing. But the kidneys filter out the aqueous wastes from our blood. But the kidney function is, for the most part, dependent upon the heart function because the heart's pumping everything around our bodies. So the heart's pumping things to our lungs. The heart's pumping things to our kidneys. The heart is pumping the blood to, I think I said pumping things to our lungs and things to our kidneys. The heart's pumping blood to our lungs. It's pumping blood to our kidneys. It's pumping blood to our liver, and our entire body is just one big plumbing system. So I have a comment here. That's for me thanking Go Professor for subbing me on Twitter. So, again, depending upon, there are whole classes on the heart. There are whole research labs on the heart and cardiovascular function. There are physicians, cardiologists who specialize in the heart, and there are scientists, depending upon which one you talk to, would argue that the heart is the most important organ in your body. Some would consider the brain the most important. Some would consider the kidneys. Some would consider the liver. But the truth is, they're all important. And they all work together, and they all do an important job in keeping us alive and upright. And if something happens to your heart, which I'm going to discuss shortly, that can adversely affect your quality of life, or it could even kill you, as we know. Recently happened with the Image guy. It was this heart that it was a heart problem or a heart failure that took him down. So let's just take a quick look at, I'm going to show this cartoon one more time. That's actually the background for the stream, but I'm going to show it to you here, and then we'll take a look at the heart structure, and we'll talk about structure and function, and then I'll read the article, and then I'll wrap up unless anyone else wants to say something. So this is the cartoon. That's my background there. That's your heart. That is a GIF of your heart pumping and receiving blood and sending blood back out to the body. So I said that I showed the example of the lung. You know that we inhale and we exhale. We inhale air from the environment to get the oxygen, and we exhale the carbon dioxide. Well, what does that mean in terms of the heart? Well, the heart has 4 chambers. It has the right atrium and the right ventricle. And it has the left atrium and the left ventricle. Pharmacologists and toxicologists have to know this too. If you look at the, you could see there, and again, this is all plumbing. You see the superior vena cava and you see the inferior vena cava. What those are doing is those are bringing blood to the heart. Those are bringing carbon dioxide rich blood to the heart. So from the inferior vena cava and the superior vena cava, blood is coming into the heart. That blood goes through that tricuspid valve there into the right ventricle. So the significance of a valve, again, plumbing, the significance of the valve is that the blood should only be able to go one way. And that's how the heart is built. So the blood goes in and it goes in one direction. Some people have defective valves where the blood goes in and it can go back into another chamber. And they typically have to have some kind of surgery to get that fixed. But the blood goes from the right atrium to that right ventricle. And then that blood is shipped out from that right ventricle to the pulmonary arteries. And where do those pulmonary arteries go? They go to the lungs for gas exchange, for the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide with the environment. So now, how does that oxygen-rich blood get back to the heart? Well, it goes back through the pulmonary veins. Those pulmonary veins deposit that oxygen-rich blood into the left atrium, right? And then that blood is shipped into the left ventricle through that mitral valve. And then it's shipped out to the aorta where it's distributed to the rest of the body. So that right there underscores the structure and the function of the heart. The heart is a muscle. It's made up of muscle tissue, and it's constantly beating when we're awake and when we're asleep. It's constantly beating. It has a there's a stimulation mechanism from the brain. There's an electrostimulation. I'll call it that. It's been a while since I've read up on heart physiology, but there's a stimulation from our autonomic nervous system that keeps the heart going. And the heart has a when you go get an electrocardiogram from the doctor, there's a unique um, uh, uh, there's a unique wave uh, that is generated when your autonomic nervous system stimulates the heart, that causes it to beat in its signature way. Let me look that up really quickly, so I can show you guys. Electrocardiogram. All right, just bear with me for a second here. I'm just going to take this and make it a JPEG and show it to you that way. Just be patient with me, guys and gals. And if you have questions and comments, tell me in the chat. Let's see. Go Professor says stents. Unsunken one says, "Hey doc, we're here." He saluted unsunken one. Okay. So this is an electrocardiogram. I appreciate those of you who are humoring me through this. I know the science topics aren't always the most sexy, but they are important nonetheless. Okay, here we go. That is an example of an electrocardiogram. So on the y-axis, you have voltage, and that is measuring the stimulus from your autonomic nervous system to your heart, the electrical stimulus, and it gives off a unique wave. It is the PQRST wave. So that's the wave, that's the electrical wave that your nervous system uses to stimulate the heart. And a doctor can look at that. If that's abnormal, that tells doctors that something is wrong with your heart function. So that's that. So let's talk. That's why the heart is important, and that's why you die shortly afterwards if it stops working or if it weakens over time. Please hit the like button. Once again, everyone, if you want to, I don't have a super chat over here, so if you want to donate to the channel, my Cash App and PayPal are right there. So I'm going to queue up the second article. I don't think it's as long, so you guys won't be hearing me sitting and listening to me read for an extended period of time. But this is important once again for health. Everyone take care of your health so you never have to use something like this. But also, if you know of a young person who is interested in this, this might be, I mean, you don't have to show them this live stream, but you could show them some of the diagrams I show. And also, if you have investable dollars, it's good to know where health and technology are going, because health is not going anywhere and technology is not going anywhere. And pharmaceutical companies are always looking at new and novel medical devices for treating disease. And there's a slew of videos on YouTube about this device I'm going to tell you about. So this article also comes from Stat, and it's entitled, I think this is sponsored by Abbott. So Abbott's probably developing this. The future of heart failure tech, cutting edge innovation for the full continuum of care. And this was written by Dr. Robert Kormos. And what also stood out to me is you have this brother here. I don't know if he's ADOS or if he's from Africa, but when I saw this article, that's one thing that stood out to me is you have a black man there in a lab working and analyzing data, which I thought was kind of cool because we don't see a lot of that. All right. And hopefully, guys, again, take care of your health so you never have to use a device like this. An estimated 6.2 million American adults have been diagnosed with heart failure. Remember, I should probably, that's how the image guy died 2 weeks ago. That number is expected to increase with an aging population, the continued impact of the C-19 on heart health, and increases in associated conditions such as obesity and diabetes that impact patients around the world. For Tiara Johnson, the statistics are frighteningly real. At 25, she was diagnosed with postpartum cardiomyopathy, a pregnancy-induced form of heart failure facing deterioration while on a waiting list for a heart transplant. She received a left ventricle assist device, or LVAD, an implanted heart pump that helps to circulate blood through the body. The device helped her live at home until a successful heart transplant surgery in November 2021. She still needs to manage her heart proactively and is aided in that challenge by a sensor the size of a paperclip that was placed in her pulmonary artery during a minimally invasive procedure to monitor symptoms of congestion after her transplant. The sensor, known as a CardioMEMS HF system, monitors for pressure changes and provides daily readings to her healthcare team, alerting them promptly and allowing them to consider whether therapy adjustments are needed. It's one example of groundbreaking heart health technologies with the potential to transform millions of lives. So, you know what? I thought the LVAD was the new and novel technology in this article, but maybe it's this device here. I'm going to pull down a picture of it and show it to you guys. But the LVAD is this. I shared this in my community tab. This is I have two images. This is a left ventricular assist device. Okay, so it fits onto the left ventricle there. I was watching a video on this before I started the stream. So what that does is it forms a flow, a path of flow for the blood from the left ventricle, and then it seems to be inserted into the aorta. So it's, instead of the left ventricle pumping the blood to the rest of the body, this device is doing it. Here's another picture of it. Right there. And again, hopefully you all never have to use something like this, but this is a technology that's out there. Now I'm going to look this up really quickly. CardioMEMS HF system. Let me see if I can pull that down. Well, it's in Google. Yep. So this is from Temple Health. And there are several images online of this if you want to look it up, but for the sake of this stream, I'm just going to use this one. And interestingly, the patient is it's a black man. If you haven't, please hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you want to make if you want to make a donation, that information is right there in the chat. I think Bernard has gone live and he's talking about, well, what Bernard talks about. So I know that, so I appreciate those of you who are here being here. I'm not going to go much longer because I have another meeting at noon. Where is it? Here it is. So the article said this is the size of a paperclip. So this is the cardio MEMS HF system, and it monitors for pressure changes and provides daily readings to one's healthcare team. So it seems to fit right there on a branch of your bloodstream, not far from the heart, and it gives pressure readings and it lets your healthcare team know how your heart is functioning. Okay. Let's see. A race against time. Heart failure is a complex progressive syndrome that impairs the ability of the heart to circulate blood efficiently, resulting in symptoms such as fatigue, breathlessness, and swollen ankles. That's also called edema, pulmonary edema. Often in early stages of heart failure, symptoms are nonspecific or mild and overlap with other chronic conditions. So diagnosis may be missed or delayed, but early diagnosis and treatment are critical to prevent suffering, improve a patient's quality of life, and avoid or delay the need for later stage interventions. Advances in technology are changing the way heart failure is managed today, taking the guesswork out of care with solutions that extend and improve quality of life. Patients and physicians now have previously unmanageable options to quickly respond to changes in the body before patients are so sick that they require hospitalization. Yet these miracles of science are only helpful if patients have access to them. Unfortunately, physicians aren't always aware of the latest options for their patients, and many patients with heart failure go undiagnosed, simply adjusting the way they live their lives to accommodate the limitations they experience. Their condition goes untreated and they slip through the cracks. Okay. Putting patients first. If you have any questions or comments in the chat, please leave them. Are you enjoying this? Are you learning something? You know, have you had heart disease? Have you had heart disease yourself? Do you know someone who was afflicted with it? If you have questions or comments, please leave them there in the chat while I am live. To allow for earlier diagnosis and a better management of heart failure, the healthcare community must focus on connecting patients to the specialized care and life-saving solutions they need. Breakthrough technologies such as the cardio MEMS sensor, helping Tierra Johnson, along with innovations in machine learning and artificial intelligence. We've talked about that here. New imaging tools, smartphone apps, and digital connectivity are revolutionizing treatment and improving outcomes. Okay. Me, engineering cannabis, keep it techie. We've talked about artificial intelligence and machine learning. Those are innovating into the healthcare fields, as I just read. Patients want confidence in knowing their healthcare team is keeping a close eye on them without being saddled by gadgets that constantly remind them of their diagnosis. At Abbott, that means approaching product development with an eye toward innovative, connected technology that fits into a person's life while providing healthcare professionals the tools, information, and training they need to continue to provide the best possible care. We actively work with clinicians, educating them about heart failure, warning signs, and how to appropriately identify candidates who are indicated for the latest treatments. We dialogue on a breadth of topics to meet clinicians' needs across disciplines and career stages, from patient screening and assessment methods to hands-on surgical training and subsequent management relating to Abbott's products. Managing a progressive, potentially fatal condition like heart failure is best accomplished with the active participation of informed patients in partnership with their physicians. Remote monitoring sensors like Abbott's CardioMEMS HF system reliably provide that connection, offering early warning of worsening conditions and allowing for needed changes in treatment. And for patients who still need later stage treatment options, as Tiara Johnson did, Abbott's heart pump is keeping late stage heart failure patients not only living longer, but functioning in the community while awaiting a heart transplant. And then finally, looking to the future, we are at the start of a new era in medical technology that can dramatically extend and improve the quality of life for patients battling heart failure. We've come a long way in treating these patients, and there's still more to be done, and quickly. It is exciting to witness the advancements in health technology that are truly making a difference for people like Tiara to live healthier, fuller lives. So this was a bit of a promo for Abbott, but it also gave discussion to the new healthcare technologies they're creating. And also, I see Engineering Cannabis is there in the chat, how AI and machine learning are going to be incorporated into the healthcare fields. And then the last thing I'll say is, I think in the last live stream or the last two, I talked about kidney transplant. Everyone, take care of your health. There's the need for transplants for kidneys, hearts, livers, all those things. But yeah, do whatever you can to not have to need any of those things. So I have a few more minutes. I'm going to throw the link in the chat in case someone wants to come up and say something related to any of what I discussed today. Be careful about what you say. The algorithm's looking for things, so everything has been here for teaching and educational purposes and just for our knowledge. Engineering Cannabis said, and he's been the champion here for heart health and machine learn. I'm sorry, not for heart health, but machine learning and algorithms and data. He's been the champion for that. So I'm thinking, if a patient has something like this installed, there's going to have to be an application that the healthcare provider has to monitor their heart function. And if it goes beyond a critical threshold, maybe that's when the algorithm says, hey, this person needs this medication, or this person needs to change their regimen in this way or that way. That's what I'm envisioning, but that's what that sensor is designed for. So we looked at two technologies today: the LVAD here, and then this CardioMEMS sensor here. So see, we're just over an hour. Yeah, if anyone wants to come up and say something, you're welcome to come up and say something. If not, I will shut this down. I'm grateful for your eyeballs and your views and your likes and your subscriptions. I'm going to have some more coffee here. I'll wait a few more minutes. The current world event, the current contagion. I was telling my dad last night, keep your eyes on the news because the Biden administration they're proactively, and other organizations are proactively looking towards the fall and the winter, anticipating that it is not necessarily over. I know that there are a lot of people who want it to be over, but just keep your eyes on what's going on and what they're preparing for and why they are preparing for it. So just keep your eyes open. Don't just assume that because people aren't wearing face coverings or people have refused to get immunized, don't assume that it's over. Let's see. Yeah. Questions or comments? Once again, if you want to make a donation, that information is here. Though, you know what, guys, based upon what's going on now in the economy, folks may not be able to donate. And I totally get it. I totally get it. If you haven't, I would sub Glendon Cameron. He talks about the economy and what's coming. And I did do a stream on maybe a couple of weeks ago on the Biden administration proposing to add more ethanol to our gas formulations to kind of offset the prices. But apparently there's going to be a shortage in diesel fuel, and we may all feel that because that's how our products get shipped from point A to point B. So that will really hit the logistics and the supply chains and the costs to the consumers. So be mindful of that. Those are things to look out for. Okay, I'm going to go for two more. Engineering Cannabis. All right, he's here. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, Dr. Domba. How are you doing this morning?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. Um, the funny thing about the technology, I was talking about the hard technology. I was working with a company called 3C to develop the algorithm to actually do this, the hard technology.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, What Abbott is doing is the first stage of it. Because the company, the 3C, they were partnering up, I think, with UCLA to develop the algorithm to track heart health in general. So the goal was to, again, the different aspects of heart health. There's too many variables. Again, the goal is to build sensors to track all of it. So, for instance, your oxygen levels, metabolic system, weight, all again from your what's in your blood, your lipids in your blood. All these variables are utilized to create the algorithm to basically understand how the heart basically functions well. So the goal is to take all these variables and teach the algorithm again. And we also have to track not only based on physical characteristics, but also age, also gender, also race. So all these variables are going to be in place for heart. I'm sorry. All
That's
these
all right.
will be basically in place for the heart health itself, the algorithm. So age, gender, race, um, different variables to utilize to track the heart health itself. So this and Abbott is in the first stage, but they are building sensors, all these sensors to develop those to basically get those data. Again, the key to every algorithm is data. So the goal is for this sensors is to get that data. And once we can get that data, we can then track how the heart functions. So now, if we know, if someone comes in at the end of the day, what the algorithm will do is, if someone comes in at the age of 50 and complains that he's having certain aspects of his heart is basically not functioning right. So we're taking the variables again, lipids, metabolic rate, all this, and put it into the algorithm and say, okay, if you continue what you're doing right now, if you continue eating bad, if you continue doing all this, this is what will end up with your heart. Your heart will probably, you will die in the next 10 to 15 years. That
Mhm.
algorithm will predict that based on all those variables. So then it says, okay, what are the solutions? So that's why I say all those variables count. So if you change your weight, or you change a variable like weight, or you change a variable like metabolic rate or something a little bit, then the algorithm then says, if you change this, this, and this, the outcome will be either increase your lifespan or increase your heart health. So the goal of the algorithm is not only provide you a negative outcome if you continue doing your own, but also provide you a positive outcome if you change any of those variables. So that's what the algorithm is going to do. It's going to give you a predictive approach of your heart. If you continue doing all the stuff you're doing, this is going to end up. But if you change one or two things, the algorithm then predicts, okay, this might happen at the end. You might increase your life by this span. And that's what the heart health algorithm is going to do. So the goal now is, the first stage is to collect all that data to then teach the algorithm this is what's going to happen. And at the end of the day, that's what they're doing, trying to predict the outcome of every heart, not only heart, but kidneys, lungs, everything, to be able to predict what will happen if certain conditions are still, either you have certain conditions still in place and you're progressing. This is how your heart health will progress, or your lungs or anything will progress. But if you change some things, this is how it's going to progress, either good or bad. So these are what we're trying to. These are the data they're trying to collect to be able to predict the outcomes itself.
Okay. Uh, I have a hard stop engineering cannabis, and we need to talk about this some more, because how all these things are intersecting. Everyone, when you think about, when engineering cannabis comes up, when you think about machine learning, think about this picture right here. We're teaching machines how to look at these things. We're giving them data. In this instance, the context is healthcare and medicine, and the machines are being taught to analyze that data, to integrate that data, and make decisions and or recommendations for, in this instance, a patient.
Yes.
So keep that in mind.
Yeah. So that's it. That's the machine learning for you. But there are more. They're using deep learning. There are more ways. But the goal now, the first stages of this is collection of data. We need a lot of data to know how to train that algorithm to think. So now we need to again collect data from different genders, different race, different age groups, and then collect all that data to then teach the algorithm to say, okay, this is what you're going to be. This is how the heart is going to be working from now on, and that's what they're going to do.
Okay. All right. Well, engineering cannabis, thank you. I have to hop off.
Okay. Thanks for having
All
me
right.
here.
All right. No problem. Thank you for your expertise. Okay. So everyone, let's see. There's a question here from Kaylin Baby, which is, any other news on children with hepatitis and what's causing it? I read another child has died in the US. I think that's 5 now. I did a live stream on this, I think about 2 to 3 weeks ago. It turns out there are about 5 different kinds of hepatitis. So I will look some more into that, and maybe we can revisit it. Maybe I'll create a pre-record of some sort, upload. I'm sorry, a voiceover, or a recording of me. But I will keep that in mind, and I will give that some thought. Commander Gore says machine learning will be racist like its creators. Well, based upon what Engineering Cannabis has said repeatedly, we've got to get it. We've got to get individuals in there who can impact and shape and influence what data the algorithms are being given. And if you think about it, that's part of the controversy of Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter, which is, I think, on hold now. But who the people who are in charge of feeding the algorithms information and data, and the algorithms and information and data that they feed uh, the machines, those people and what they're feeding the algorithms is critical. So yeah, I see your point, but I think we have to figure out how to get more people in those areas to make sure the data that's supplied is objective. So maybe it's training up a whole group of young people to do it in the future. Maybe it's influencing that right now by some other means. I don't know. But it's the people at the top, as per usual, who are going to affect the outcome for the multitude. All right, everyone, I have a hard stop here. I'm going to show this. Please consider joining the Big Words LLC newsletter. This link is below, as are the 2 articles that I read today. The newsletter is here. There's a greeting. The subscription button is there at the bottom. You just enter in your email address. I'm sorry, you just enter in your email address. You have my promise that I will not give your information away or sell it to anyone else. I know that's a very, very touchy subject. Thank you to everyone who hung on and listened to this and participated in the chat. And I will look to do I'm going to look to do these live streams weekly. The content, the subject matter will vary, but I think it's just that important for me to do these. So everyone, please like, share, and subscribe. If you're watching on the playback and you want to donate to the channel, my Cash App and PayPal are below in the description box. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday and your weekend. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. And if you guys have ideas and questions about content ideas and things that you want to see and hear about, let me know. You can access me in multiple ways. There's a Big Words blog site Facebook page. That's my Twitter handle. That's my Instagram handle right there. And you can use that email address there. BigDiscuss76 at bigwordsarepowerful.com. I know that's a handful. Some people are reaching out to me through my Gmail, which I guess you're able to look that up somehow. But if you have questions or if you have content areas that you want me to address, let me know. Obviously a donation would help with that, and it would help to get it to the top of the pile. But let me know. Anyway, everyone, enjoy the rest of your day and your weekend, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.